Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, they have a slight urban accent. Whatever you want to call it, they have it. So is that why well, obviously couldn't be why Joe Biden said that Barack Obama was the first clean and intelligent and articulate black man that he's seen running for office, because they just skipped over Jesse and Al. I mean, I don't care what you think of them. I don't really think highly of those two men. In fact, I think they should be ashamed of themselves, because I know Jesse Jackson walked with Martin Luther King. He was on his right-hand side all the time. He should know exactly what Martin Luther King Jr. would stand for, and it's nothing that Jesse Jackson is standing for now. But here you have Jesse Jackson, a true civil rights worker and marcher, and he's not clean and articulate enough to be president, but Barack Hussein Obama is, and he's being termed clean and articulate by another old white guy. And I'm not trying to bring race but I am trying to point out this is the left. The left are the racists. They have been racist since day one, and they're still racist, but they're pointing the finger at the Republicans. Republicans are not saying, well, you got to be clean and articulate if you're going to be black in order to run. No, they embrace everyone. It's hell. They're trying to embrace everyone so much that they're even trying to get liberals to come in as liberals. I don't know how you can. I don't know how that's racist or bigoted in any manner. Well, come on, yeah, just join the Republican Party. We're cool. We're the big tent. But here you have the wonderful left, who are the biggest racist on the planet, pointing fingers at everybody else, saying that everybody else is racist, when they're the ones that are making race an issue at every chance they get. And instead of doing the right thing and probably propping up somebody who probably wasn't qualified, I mean, frankly, I think Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton are probably just as qualified as Barack Obama to be president, which means that they're not qualified, but, just as qualified as he is. So why didn't they support him or either one of those two? Okay, maybe you were too bigoted about Al Sharpton because he was once fat. Jesse Jackson wasn't fat. Jesse Jackson was in the inner circle of Martin Luther King Jr., a civil rights icon. I mean, why not? Why couldn't you support Jesse Jackson for president? Because I'm telling you again, the whole point is that Barack Hussein Obama, if you really listen to them, they do not consider Barack Obama as being African American. Even though Barack Obama tries to run around and say that he hates his white half, which is really kind of interesting. I hate white people, and he's half white. So I don't understand, but they know that he's not an African American. They know this. You rarely hear the left call Barack Obama African American. Really. That's not how they view him. You got to pay attention and listen to what these people say and what they don't say. There's no reading between the lines. It's just paying attention. They're pretty damn clear. Just saying about that. I mean, think about this. And next time you're talking to people about Barack Obama, just the Americans are racist. Well, really, Americans, how come you didn't nominate Jesse Jackson when you had the chance? Ask him point blank. I guarantee you won't be able to get an honest answer. Well, Americans weren't ready. Really? How do you know? You didn't make him your Democratic nominee, so we'll never know if the rest of the American public was ready for Jesse Jackson to be president or not. You guys didn't support him. They didn't. The Democratic Party did not support Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton. They did not. In fact, there were times back when Jesse Jackson was running that he complained that the Democratic Party was running against him. Kind of like Bernie Sanders is doing right now. But the difference is that Bernie Sanders is an old, white, grumpy, curmudgeon uncle from New England, and not a black guy. Where are the blacks this time around in running for president in the Democratic Party? Where's the diversity over there? I mean, out of all the serious contenders, you had two middle-aged white guys already drop out. You got a third one who probably should drop out because nobody knows anything about him because they hardly hear anything about O'Malley. He's another middle-aged white guy, and now you got an old white guy and an old white woman. Where is the diversity over there? Here you have the party that is touted as bringing to the forefront the first black president of the United States. That's what they call him, not African American. The first black president of the United States, Barack Obama. And they should be saying first half black, but the first mixed race, first mulatto president. But you would think that they would want to build on it. Their building is to make the first woman the president in Hillary Clinton. Where's the diversity? If this was the case of the Democratic Party, if they were so flippant diversified and believed in diversity, you don't think that they'd be encouraging other ethnic. Where's the first Asian American? Who's the first Asian running for president? How come the Democrats don't have an Asian? Why don't the Democrats have an Indian from India running? The Republicans had one. Why don't the Democrats have a couple of strong women? I mean, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I know she's an airhead from California, but why didn't she run? Why don't we have an African American woman running over there? I mean, that's one way to up the ante over Barack. Have an African American woman. You want to make some strides? How about having the first female president and the first black female president in one person, or first African American president in one person? Because you got the first black president, but how about the first African American president who's also a female? First black female president. Killed two birds with one stone, and that where is the African American female on the Democratic side? Why is it we only have a choice between two old white men and an old white woman on the Democratic side? Hell, the Republicans fully diversified. You have old and young white guys. You got a fat guy. You got a couple of Latinos, an Indian, a woman, a black guy, well, African American. From all walks of life. I mean, yeah, you got a businessman do you have business people on the Democrat side? No, they were all career politicians. On the Republican side, what you got? You got some businessmen, you got some politicians, you got some doctors, and well, a businesswoman too. There's diversity there. Some governors, some senators. Where's the diversity on the Democratic side? The party that's supposed to be so inclusive and so diverse. There is no diversity. There's none. Obama admits that he's never owned a gun. So he's out there running, trying to take everybody else's gun. But WND.com is reporting Obama admits, I've never owned a gun. But the president says executive actions are respectful of the Second Amendment. I don't. President Obama admitted yesterday that he has never owned a gun in his life. And then he proceeded to tell more than 300 million Americans why the federal government should do more to restrict their rights to own one. Now, Obama made his case for gun control in that stupid nationally televised town hall meeting held 2 days after his fake tear-filled announcement of 10 new executive actions he believes will slash gun violence. None of them would have, none. You try to ask, how would keeping guns from law-abiding citizens have stopped all the gun violence in places like Chicago? It wouldn't have. Why was he crying over the kids at Sandy Hook? A bunch of let me be blunt. A bunch of white kids in a rich suburban town in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. He shed tears over. All of those black inner city poor kids in Chicago that have lost their lives, far outnumbering the number at Sandy Hook, not a single tear, not even a single mention. You gotta. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that these people just do not have a mental illness. Who does that? I get away, but dear away, because every time I think about Sandy Hook, it makes me mad. Oh well, Mr. President, how about Chicago? Chicago's in the news almost every week because they've had a bloody weekend. And multiple people are shot, wounded, and killed, and many of them are children, innocent children. And the guns that are used are illegally gained guns. Nobody's buying these guns legally. This is a town that has some of the toughest gun laws on the planet, let alone in the United States. And people are still dying by the thousands every year in Chicago due to gun violence. There is, I mean, well, we've already known that there are studies out there and statistics that show that people are killed by other means more than guns every year. I mean, more people are killed on the car accidents than there are by guns. Unless, of course, you're in Chicago. If you're in Chicago, you're more likely probably to die by a bullet than die by being in a car accident. Just saying. By an illegal bullet. You know, there's but Obama does say that he's never owned a gun. He's never had one, and he says that he doesn't plan on ever having one. I mean, we've seen a few photo ops of him shooting the rifle. He was shooting one, I think it was a target skeet rifle, shotgun. With his left hand, it was in. He had it holding. I don't know if he was doing it properly, because I'm not a lefty, but he looked kind of awkward in this picture that I saw. He looked kind of awkward, but he says this goes to show who wears the pants in the family. But Barack says that Michelle Obama would want a gun to protect her family if we lived in a rural area. Wait a minute. Are you kidding me? Do you realize what the president just said? He said that if his family lived in rural America, that his wife would want a gun to protect the family. His wife. Where do these people come from? Where do they come from? How do you tell the American people that if you lived in a rural area that your own wife, not you, your wife would want a gun, but you want to take guns from people who live in rural America? These people are absolutely insane. Just insane. And frankly, a little bit evil.